Hello, my Richies, and welcome back to another episode of the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. My name is, I'm your host, and in today's episode of the Sunday Strategy Sessions, you and I are going to talk about the ways in which you can die without regret. Getting into it, getting really heavy on a Sunday when you probably already have a little bit of anxiety brewing. It's 4th of July weekend when you're listening to this, so hopefully you're in a relaxed enough state that we can talk about uncomfortable things and in the process of it, make our life that we're currently living a little more enjoyable. I want to really take this episode as an opportunity to help you re-engineer your life, your mindset, your habits, the way in which you structure your day that are going to help you to live a full and present life without any regrets in those final moments, in those periods of your life where you know that vitality is on its way out and you did not do everything you wanted to do while you were here. I have it was an impactful moment with grief, and it was my father. And on his deathbed in the final weeks of, his time here on earth with us, he had quite a few regrets. Some of them were financial, regarding ways in which he could no longer physically repair our house that he built from scratch by himself over 20 years. And the house, just with age and living on the bay and saltwater damage, had gone into disarray. And he just was not able to either fix it himself, which he had always done, or financially be able to afford fixing it. And he felt deep regret in leaving that burden to my mother and myself and my sister. There was also the underlying tone of him just wishing that he would have tried a little harder in not being so rigid in his thoughts. He absolutely had a lot of self-growth and a ton of spiritual awakenings and mental awakenings and mindset awakenings in, the 20-year span of him being sick, which I really consider his true peak of life. He was truly living in the present moment. But prior to his diagnosis, he was living a life that would have absolutely, if he kept living it in that way, given him every regret you could imagine on his deathbed. And it got me thinking about, we always hear that reoccurring story of the 5 top regrets that dying people have. And caretakers will say, or nurses or hospice care will kind of recount these 5. So I want to go through the 5. And because they are such common regrets, to me, it feels like there's some underlying thread here of us all living our life in fear in a way that is making these be the 5 things that are affected the most by living in that fear and not being fully present in your life and in the rare, crazy chance that it is that you're alive, breathing, and have every opportunity in front of you. It's like an anomaly among anomalies. So the first regret of the dying is I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. We hear this a lot from the eldest sibling, typically the eldest daughters. They'll become the lawyers, the doctors, the teachers. They're picking these stable careers, ones that are leadership oriented. They're fighting for change or justice, helping others. And these are great things if they're what you truly want to do. But most often, the eldest child is kind of given this forced expectation from their parents wanting the best for them to go to college, to pick a stable career, one that's safe, not one that may elicit passion or spark your purpose and a deeper understanding and growing into who you are via this path that you found yourself on in your purpose, your passion, and your talents kind of all aligning in one. There's also this expectation, and certainly with older generations, of people and their uniqueness being thwarted and pushed down because it was against status quo. I'm 39 years old. I think I'm probably the first generation that accepted everyone and didn't really care nor want to know what made you different. We just love you all the same, and like, it's Gucci, like, bap, we're good. And I think moving forward, there will be a lot more acceptance and freedom for both people to register and see those that are different than them and not have it be some cataclysmic traumatic thing that needs to, you know, result in bullying or causing someone to diminish who they are and quiet who they are because of that activity. And it doesn't need to be a thing where anyone needs to feel weird about who they are. Unless you're hurting people, animals, or children, fly that freak flag. Okay. Like if I had the money for the song, I'd better match my freak. Better match my freak. You know what I mean? Like let it fly. No one under the age of 40 is judging you. No one cares. Everyone wants the best for you. We want the best for everyone. We want to rise. You know, the rising tide floats all boats. That's the energy we're moving into. But there certainly is, from previous generations, and certainly those that are dying that are having these regrets, there was that societal setup of not being yourself, or it being detrimental if you are yourself, and having to really just decide to put yourself in a box to fit in. So how can you find courage to live your true life, who you truly are, what you're truly meant to do? It may not be as simple of a like solution you can seek as you think. And I do believe it is one of those journeys that will continually evolve as life carries on. There's going to be so many different versions of you once you start on a self-awareness journey and you're looking to grow your mindset and your mentality and your efforts and your productivity and what you're doing with yourself for the world to better it. But I think the basis of beginning a life filled with courage that is living in your autonomy, meaning you are fully choosing who you are, how you want to be, how you want to live, is first accepting that, like, keep mortality in the frame here. You take your first breath and your last breath and every breath in between by your damn self. Giving someone other than you, the riser and the faller of these lungs, the power to tell you how to do whatever it is they think you should be doing with your life. No, you're giving away massive, massive, massive power. And not only are you giving away massive power, you're letting someone lead you down a path that may be taking you from your purpose, and most likely is taking you away from your purpose of fulfilling that fate, that destiny, that reason why you're here right now, with the story that you had, the life that you've lived, the talents that you have, the interests that you have. Like, all of this was preordained and destined for you. And to shift that lane and take a different exit by handing that power over just aimlessly to someone else to dictate what it is that you do because of their expectations of you, you are quite simply dampening the light of your life and pretty much guaranteeing that you're going to be performing and exhausting yourself for eternity, as long as you are having to force yourself into that expected life, that expected outcome, that expected career path, love life, like where you live, like how you work out, like anything you can think of that someone's going to tell you, no, 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 you should do this. You quickly and politely say, hey, I appreciate you thinking about me here, but nobody knows what's better for me than me, okay? And I am going to move forward with this thing that I love and enjoy. And sometimes these choices seem reckless, they seem irresponsible, they seem crazy to others, and they feel difficult. They feel sometimes like you're making the wrong choice, even though your heart is pulling you in this direction. Your soul knows you have to go this way, but your brain's like, put them brakes on. Like, this is not what's supposed to be happening right now. I say that from a place of having been through that, especially the last 5 years of my life since my father's passing has been a very big mix-up in the best way possible. It's shaken me into a new timeline of where I am and what I should be doing and how I should be doing it. But the last 2.5, almost 3 years specifically, has been me dismantling so many thoughts that I had about myself regarding my self-worth, the way that I think about things that weren't always jiving with me and what's best for me and what my purpose is and what my passion is and where my talents are and how they all kind of come together in one. They coalesce in a way that's meant just for me. And until I sat back and started to get self-aware and question why I was doing things, question why I was feeling this way, question why I was allowing others to make me feel certain ways when I know out the gate, they're not changing. They're not going to change who they are. I keep inserting myself into this exact scenario. And taking the courage to live in my choice, in my autonomy, has been difficult. And to be honest, I don't have many people that support the decision outside of my husband, who completely facilitates my ability to be doing so, which is recording this podcast, doing it full time, and working on other endeavors as side hustles to make this work. This is my dream. This is what I am doing every day. I am so thankful for his support and his sacrifices that allow me to do this and build this up into the thing that I know it is meant to be, the thing that I was put here for to do. And I get like almost like evangelical about it because all it required of me was the courage to just fucking do it. Like not doing it would keep me where I was 5 years ago and keep me in this hamster wheel of just like, maybe today will be a better day without taking any action or being the change for myself by moving, by acting, by doing. So please know that you can have the courage to live a life true to yourself and not the life that others expected of you. And it's going to be the most difficult yet rewarding thing you have ever done for yourself. And I guarantee you, this will help you to check off the rest of these 4 common regrets of the dying. And it starts with that first one: having courage to live a life true to yourself, love yourself, know your value, know your worth, and receive it and just bask in it and know that it's meant for you. And this is all you were meant here for. And no one can take that from you. No one. So the second top regret of the dying is, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Where have we heard this before? I want to like just jump right into it with a Mexican parable that you may have heard before. I'm going to read it directly here because it's short and sweet, but impactful and really beautiful, and helps to encapsulate kind of the way in which capitalism can really throw a wrench in discovering what true happiness is before having and identifying with material items to receive the happiness. An American investment banker was at the pier of a small coastal Mexican village when a small boat with just one fisherman docked. Inside the small boat were several large yellowfin tuna. The American complimented the Mexican on the quality of his fish and asked how long it took to catch them. The fisherman replied, "Only a little while." The banker then asked why he stayed out longer, or why wouldn't he stay out longer and catch more fish? The fisherman said he had had enough to support his family's immediate needs. The banker then asked, "But what do you do with the rest of your time?" The fisherman said, pay attention to this, "I sleep late, fish a little, play with my children, take siestas with my wife, Maria, stroll into the village each evening where I sip wine and play guitar with my amigos. I have a full and busy life." The banker scoffed. "I'm a Harvard MBA and could help you. You should spend more time fishing, and with the proceeds buy a bigger boat. But with the proceeds from the bigger boat, you could buy several boats, and then eventually you would have a fleet of fishing boats. And instead of selling your catch to a middleman, you would sell directly to the processor, eventually opening your own cannery. You would control the product, processing, and distribution. You would need to leave this small coastal fishing village and move to Mexico City, then LA, and then eventually New York, where you will run your expanding enterprise." The fisherman asked, "But how long will all this take?" To which the banker replied, 15 to 20 years. "But what then?" asked the fisherman. The banker laughed and said, "That's the best part. When the time is right, you would announce an IPO and sell your company's stock to the public and become very rich. You would make millions." "Millions? Then what?" said the fisherman. "Then you would retire. Move to a small coastal fishing village where you would sleep late, fish a little, play with your kids, take siestas with your wife, stroll to the village in the evenings where you would sip wine and play guitar with your amigos." And he says, "But I'm already doing that." That fisherman ain't missing shit. He literally has the full meaning of life in front of him. What his life meant for him, what he wanted, what felt like success and joy to him was the life he already had. Could he live in a different house and take a siesta with his wife in a bigger house? Sure. Could he take his kids to a fancy amusement park and like take them to Disney World 15 times a year? Sure. But they're still playing. Could he, like absolutely grow this huge empire and feel success and feels like he's putting food onto people's plates with hard work? He's already doing that. It comes down to recognizing what success means to you and understanding the intention behind that hard work you're doing. If you're just burning rubber, burning wheels because you're work with no intention, that's also setting you up to be in a better place and also leave the world in a better place than where you came into it, you're barking up the wrong tree. And I know we've all got bills to pay. I get it. But have you ever thought about what life would look like if you dropped a lot of the material things you think and thought you needed? Maybe you don't need that boat. Sell that shit. Has it sat for a summer? Great. Get rid of it. When you're ready for a boat and you really, really want it, you're going to take it out every weekend, you'll buy another one. And you'll save up for it this time. And when you get it, it'll mean something to you because you missed it. Maybe it's time to trade in that SUV that you have for absolutely no reason. You live in a city. Why don't you get one of those tiny little eco cars and like get the fuck over like labels and like the prowess of having a large vehicle and get something cheap for yourself and invest that money into something better for yourself or helping others. You don't need to work as hard as you have been both systematically and psychologically trained to think that you do. And this is coming from someone that for 15 years solid worked, we'll say 17, 18 hours a day on her own business. I never slept. I had insomnia from the stress I was giving myself over work. I have zero fucking zilch to show for it, except for a lot of autoimmune reactions and things that I'm cleaning up in my health still to this day because I ran myself ragged with nothing at the end goal that really made sense for me to be burning the candle at both ends. You've got to ask yourself why you're working so hard, what you're working for, what you're working towards, and if that work is really producing the results that you think it is. With a little bit of strategy and a little bit of fine tuning, you could really attack your goals in a way that allows you to work less, maybe automate some things depending on what it is you're working on. If it's a personal thing, if it's a business thing. But at the end of the day, there has to be a moment where you know deep down inside you were like a butterfly, you weren't put on this planet to work. You're a beautiful little cog in a gigantic wheel that doesn't care about you at all. And that is why you've been made to think that your only value is your work. Your value is your innate, literal existence. You opening a peeper in the morning makes you have more value than we can all comprehend. And the beauty of that is giving yourself the ability to be like, skirt, I could work myself to death and get all this money, but am I living life right now? You could drop dead tomorrow. If you drop dead tomorrow, would you be happy with how you lived your life today? Would you be happy with the fact that you sat at your desk or you did this or you did that for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours without any real thing to show for it, and then you die? How would that feel, right? That would make you feel like shit. You would think about those moments where you wished you were taking a walk with your dog and your wife outside after work instead of, all the extra hours you put in on the clock that meant nothing to a boss that doesn't really care about you. You could find yourself on your deathbed and be like, God damn it, I should have taken those vacation days. Why didn't I should have taken my husband to Italy. I should have taken our kids to Disney World when they were small and they would have enjoyed it. Why? Why did I put work before life? It's okay. We live in America. It's par for the course. We've all been here. But it's time when you feel these feelings to reprogram. Just by knowing that you were put here to do more than work is the first step. So please, please, please reevaluate why you're working so hard, what you're working so hard for, and ways in which you can simplify whatever it is you're doing with a little bit of strategy and a little bit of automation to make your life simpler because you deserve it. Working hard for the birds. And now it's for AI. The third regret of the dying is that I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. This is a big one, guys. This is a big one. Especially if you're a person that doesn't say shit, period. You don't talk about your feelings like at all. Never. Okay. Here's a great way to start. Imagine your silence consuming the joy and the availability for joy in your body. The anxiety that cloaks silence, that takes over, fills up your chest, it fills up your sternum, fills up your stomach. And then you're just like, ugh. You're slowly killing yourself with every little unexpressed thing you keep inside. And it can be really hard. And most times it's super fucking hard, but it's so worth it. And the relief that you will feel is not only worth it, but it is your innate right. It is your innate existence of living to have no qualms, no problems with others, because we should be living in a place and a time where we can exchange thoughts freely without fear of repercussions or all kinds of things. But assuming you're in a safe place with a safe, nonviolent person, speaking your truth, it's like a get out of jail free card every time. My dad used to say, the truth hurts whether you have to hear it or say it. And this for me was always an adage that, one, served me well in my earlier years of life, learning to become a coachable individual, because I would be told things by people that I cared about or that mattered to me that really I wasn't happy with. You know, they would point something out about me that I needed to work on. And in allowing these moments of them expressing their feelings about something I've said or done that put them in a place of feeling this way and that they needed to say something to me about it, not only gave me a moment of introspection and a pivoting moment and place to grow from quite quickly as well, but it gave them the ability to create a moment of intimacy and trust that we will just continue to build upon. So my father, my mother too, were very good about gently correcting us. Don't do that, do this. Don't do that, do this. And, you know, the notion of the truth hurts whether you have to hear it or say it made it also easier for me to be able to do the same for those I care about. And there are some more than others still to this day that I find myself like clammed up and it's like okay, I gotta go tell them this. I gotta set this boundary. I have to do this. I have to do that. Look, it's made me so nervous I knocked over my mic. But I will say, the energy that you free for yourself in expressing your emotions, expressing your feelings, explaining why you feel the way that you do, is an absolutely beautiful testament to the universe that you are ready for more. You are ready for more gentle challenges that are going to cause you to poke through whatever bubble you've been living in that you're ready to expand out of. I think it's also a really beautiful thing for you to give to others by expressing your feelings. You're also giving them the invitation to express back to you. Maybe they're a person just knew you weren't ready before the moment of them seeing you expressing your feelings, and they have some that they'd like to share as well. I think the biggest thing to always remember is that others' feelings are their responsibility, but your actions that led to however they felt of interpreting it are yours and yours alone. No one can make you do anything you don't want to do at the end of the day, and you alone are responsible for making the changes that are going to allow you to express these feelings, to receive others' feelings, and be able to be coachable and make that a moment for yourself to expand and grow and leaps and bounds beyond where you are currently. The fourth regret of the dying: I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Whew, this is a big one. I think there are those that are extremely introverted and shy away from really needing any kind of close friendships. And then there are those that are extroverted and they're out and about, and, you know, they're gonna be with the people. They're gonna find someone to interact with. But then there are those in the middle that have been shell-shocked in one direction or the other, and therefore they just stay in a state of freeze. And they wait for people to approach them to be their friend or to make a conversation in the grocery store with a stranger. And in that place of being nervous to be who you are in front of others in a way that could facilitate a relationship or some type of friendship evolving, you are doing yourself a disservice. And for the times where you had friends where those relationships have fallen apart, certainly there are going to be very toxic friendships and relationships where you truly are like, no, that door is closed. Thank you. It's important to still, on your end, for those relationships that you know are closed. Like I currently am releasing energy for a friendship that I ended 4 years ago. Just was a lot of attachment issues, became very toxic. It was interfering completely with my ability to deal with my grief over my father that had just passed. And this person in their attachment issues really did not understand my grief and felt very abandoned from me in a place where I was normally very helpful to them. I was, the one they could call and bitch about on the phone with things. And I would, get them off the ledge and walk them off of it. But in my own grief, like I could barely do that for myself, let alone anyone else. And to have these things be demanded of me showed me that this person wasn't in a space to even recognize that, like, yeah, it's been 6 months, but like my life is not the same. It never will be again. You can't expect me to be the same with you, especially in the space of recent grief. And I have no desire to really rekindle anything with this person. I hold nothing ill against them. It's just, unless there's been such significant change there that they approach me one day and basically state this to me, that that's what they now know to have happened. I don't think that I could ever revisit it again. So there are going to be these times and moments where you should not stay in touch with friends that are not good for you, that are not healthy, and are not great for overall growth and longevity of expansion over the time period of your friendship. But then there are those friends that for whatever reason, life got in the way. And I'm in another situation right now, actually, for this as well. A friend was in a situation to where it wasn't really safe for them to do what they wanted to do because of a scenario that they were in. And I understand that the relationship dissolved out of their sheer need to survive. Having been in a place like that previously myself, I completely understand. And when the moment arises that we come back together again, this will be something that I don't regret. And it's something that I've been alive regretting and can imagine, just with the impact of what this friendship has been over my lifetime, that I would deeply regret it at the end of my life. So stay in touch with your friends. If you have some friendships that have lapsed and you feel like you don't feel any ill will and you don't really know or even remember what happened or why you faded apart, nothing beats a, hey, just want to send you some love. I'm thinking about you. That message is awesome. It's genuine, it's authentic, and it will hopefully trigger a response back that may just get you to a place where you can be conversational again. And you can just know that they're okay and that their life is great. And they can know that your life is great and you're okay. And then that might be enough for you to just let things lie where they lie. And they'll either continue back to a friendship, or at the very least, you know that there are no weird things that you're going to think about that could lead to regret later on. The fifth and final regret of the dying. I wish I had let myself be happier. It's a big one, guys. And it's why I started with number one, the courage to live a life true to yourself. If you can master number one, and you can work on not working so hard, and you can express your feelings, and you can have a community around you that you feel emboldened and supported and loved by and cherished by, most importantly, you're not going to have too hard of a time being happy. And I think the trickle-down effect that we see here is that the regret of the dying started with them living an inauthentic life. They hadn't gone on a journey of self-growth to evolve beyond the things that they were given to them by their parents, by their schooling, by the time period they lived in. How can you let yourself be happier? Only you know that answer. But I guarantee you somewhere in there, you're punishing yourself. And I guarantee you somewhere in there, there is a little bit of value and self-worth that needs to be examined and re-strategized in a way that truly supports you and helps you to really envision and accept that you are beyond and without a doubt worthy and valuable, like in no existence that you could ever understand other than knowing it's fucking huge. So there's that. Now I thought it might be fun slash make things a little more contextual to talk about some of the things that I've actively been working on for the last 5 years of my life to avoid my own special parts of regret. And in noticing that the regrets that people have when they're dying mainly come from habits and mindsets, I feel as though focusing on these things for the last 5 years has really been beneficial to not only my life and my present life, but how I will look back on my past in the future. So, number one, trying hard things, working as my best self to achieve these hard things. I've started jujitsu, workout classes, learning a new language, training for a marathon. I've run 10 miles races before. I have always enjoyed a challenge, but I didn't realize that the part of the challenge that I subconsciously was yearning for was the discipline, the follow through, and the self support for me to get through these hard things and complete them. So inserting this into my life as frequently as I can without being masochistic has been very helpful to me in feeling like I'm squeezing the most juice out of my day and therefore squeezing the most juice out of my life. The second thing I'm working on to avoid regret during the hopeful very far away period of my dying is training my thoughts on what to think. How often do you think about what you're thinking about? It's a funny thing to say, but it's real. And I'm going to do a whole entire episode on this because this has been life-changing for a person with anxiety, ADHD, just a lot of like trauma, like mother wounds, father wounds, all the things, right? Like I got it in here. Training my thoughts on what to think has been one of the single-handed ways that I have been able to rewire my day in the middle of a bad day. Life is too short to let any kind of negative emotions take more than 5 minutes in your day. Unless they are severe and life-threatening consequential shit, like someone you love is going to die or you yourself are in harm, it's not worth your time. It's not worth more than 5 minutes. And I will say now, I've even gotten to a place to where I don't allow something to bother me for more than a minute. And it used to bother me for days. Okay. So this has been truly the work of my life to get to a place to where I am thinking and manifesting thoughts that are going to take me out of this negativity and rise me to a better place to where I can visualize, I can manifest. I am positively changing my environment and I am being the change in making this happen. The third thing I'm working on, not two, three, is knowing I can, period. The belief in my knowing is, in my opinion, the key to your personal freedom. You want to unlock the levels that have been waiting patiently with bated breath for you to fucking turn this shit up is in knowing you can. Don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise, including yourself, because it's a fucking lie. You can do it. Know you can do it. And that, I swear to God, is 98% of the freaking battle. Good example. I'm training for a half marathon. I'm fucking scared. I realize now in doing some of these speed trainings just how far off of the mile time that I care to be at for this to really feel like a success to me. It's a little bit of perfectionism creeping in, and it's whatever. It's getting me out the door every day. I do need to work on making sure that my actions are not predicated by the search and the quest of perfection, rather me just looking to get 1% better a day. That's all we can do. 1% better a day, 1% better a day. But I have to convince myself at periods of training for this half marathon, mid running, you can do it. You can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I am strong. I am strong. I am strong. I am huffing and puffing. I just told my husband on a run we did the other day, I sound like a Frenchie with a genetic airway malfunction when I run, okay? I don't sound good. If so, it's like a lot of, like I'm dying, okay? It's not even funny. It's like on another level, and I'm working on it. But the defeat that crept in on this last run, ooh, baby, I caught myself saying, I am a runner. I am a runner. I know I can. I am a runner. I am a runner. It helped. Next run, a little bit easier. So the knowing to me is half of the battle. More than half of the battle. It's the majority of my battle. And retraining my brain to bolster my self-value and my self-worth in a way that allows me to trump forward in a fucking take charge manner, because I know, woo, that's the goal. It's the ultimate goal for this life. That's what you should work on. That's what we should all work on. It's what I'm working on. It's what I wish for you to work on. The final thing, which ties into this, is keeping promises to myself. I'm really good for a number of reasons, but mainly ones that lead back to childhood trauma, of giving myself an out so I can relax, so I can allow my nervous system to just take a chill pill. And this mainly has to do with me discovering at the age of 12 that my father had 30 days to live. And that motherfucker fought tooth and nail for 20 years and 6 months and some, I think, 21 days before passing away. But every one of those days, let me tell you what, it was hard. It was stressful. It was hard to live a normal life waiting for your father to pass away. It gave me a very low threshold. And when burnout approached, ooh, baby, I took that rest seriously. And I found myself getting into slumps, and slumps of being too comfortable, relaxing too much. And the promises that I would make to myself would get put to the side because my mental health needed that break. And in reality, what I needed, especially at the time period where this all started to kind of click some like, ooh, okay, I'm thinking this, I'm thinking that, I haven't thought that before. It was a time in my life where I needed discipline from myself. I needed to reparent the way that I did life when things were hard in these very little moments that in the grand scheme of things were not hard at all. So keeping promises to myself is another one of my things that I'm working on to avoid regret at the end. So a thing that I asked all of my guests, the very last question, is one that I'm going to ask you now. And hopefully this will be one that can help you take yourself down a path of trying to figure out what you'd like to change about your life, your mindset, your habits, how you spend your day, in a way that is going to help alleviate some of the expected regret that we can find at the end of our days. How do you make your life rich? What's your why? Find that why and figure out how to make your life as full, enriching, and joyous and full of grace as possible. How do you make your life rich in health? How do you make your life rich in relationships? How do you make your life rich in knowledge, in rest, in understanding, in empathy, in courage, in autonomy over yourself? These are questions I would love for you to ask yourself. And if you're willing, I would love for you to share them with me. A few different ways you can go about doing this. You can click the link in the show notes and leave me a voice message of how you are making your life rich in these areas. Or you can feel free to just take to Instagram, maybe take a little screenshot or share this episode. And I would love, love, love to hear what this has stirred for you. And if there is a moment where you have currently felt regret and you are just happy that you can utilize this episode to alleviate yourself of that regret in this current moment. It means the world to me that you're here, my Richies. I thank you so much for tuning in. The 3 episodes a week is a lot of work, but it truly brings me joy. I cry tears of happiness like literally every day that this is my life. And I am so thankful to my husband for facilitating all of this, being my producer and engineer, but also to you. There are over 22 countries listening, which blows my mind. It literally could make me cry if I thought about it for too long. And so many of you are just really enjoying what this show has developed into. And I thank you. Without you, I would be doing it for no one. I do it for myself still for sure, but it means a lot to be doing it for you, the person on the other end of this video or this audio recording. And speaking of video, if you are an individual looking for more video podcasts, you can absolutely tune in to the Make Life Rich movement on YouTube. We have all of our videos there, and I've now made it a point to start putting up our recording visually our Sunday strategy sessions so that we can have this time together in video as well. My Richies, I hope you enjoyed a beautiful 4th of July weekend with your family. I hope you take this episode to move ahead 1% this week in your life and work on reducing regret. And as always, make life rich.